Call the Alan Cox Show. 216-578-1007 or 1-800-348-1007.
Always, but sometimes,
most of the time.
There are little variations in the route that are always, you never quite know what you're going to get, But the Cleveland Funny Bus, tomorrow night, Bill Squire is your host this week.
There's 3 tickets left.
Okay, there you go. Go to funnybus.net. And I will have tickets for you for next week's on Monday and Tuesday of next week. But Bill and I trade off weeks in May and June, Wednesday nights, hosting. They've got an array of very funny people who are your tour guides on that. So if, I've seen a handful of repeat riders, and that's always fun. I will say last Wednesday night was the first time I had hosted the Funny Bus when I didn't know a single person. Oh. The comedian was new.
Who was it?
Dejan.
Oh,
yeah.
Darjan.
Darjan.
Yeah.
He was nice. He
just got like a big commercial for Big Lots.
Oh, I was giving him not giving him a hard time, but I kind of tossed that in as an aside when I was on the mic. And yeah, usually there will be maybe 1 or 2 people that I'll know on the bus who are riding, passengers. I didn't know one person, which is fine because then I get to meet everybody. But there was a guy who had just moved here from Manchester, England, who was a theater actor, young man who, I don't know how young. He looked young, but I don't know. But everybody was great. So that Funny Bus, man, if you've never been on it, it is so much fun. We love doing it. Love hanging out with you guys. It leaves from Collision Bend in the Flats. And Bill is your host tomorrow night. So funnybus.net. To see the schedule. It's not just Wednesdays. That's just when we do it. But there are plenty of other tours going on, so it's worth looking into. Guardians play tonight. We got beat by the Rockies last night because of that mile-high air. Makes the pitching weird. And so they'll play them again tonight. That never really affected me. I never got altitude sickness or anything like that. All the times we've been to Denver, I've never felt any different there.
It's probably going to be more evident when you are exerting yourself. Exercising.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But like regular people walking around who have never been to Denver before talk about feeling really, really weird.
I'll get like
in that
lightheaded
altitude
and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. If it's usually like it didn't happen the first time I went. The last time I went, I had to basically rush from the airport, go basically straight to the show. So I was like kind of already all over the place. And then once everything kind of settled down, I felt like really sick. And
you were already exerting yourself.
Yeah, they were like, it's probably altitude sickness.
Yeah. The very first time we went to Denver was over a decade ago. But I mean, there was a point in time when all of our friends from all around the country had just moved to Denver at different times. And so we'd go there a few times a year and see different groups of our friends at any given time. And the very first time we ever went, I fully expected that to be the case, but it just didn't do anything. So anyway, 8:40 tonight, Guardians, Rockies. Guardians will come home this weekend to host the Nationals. Some guy who is considered the most universally hated umpire in Major League Baseball has announced his retirement.
Yes.
Is this a well-known name?
Oh, yeah.
Angel Hernandez. I'm a baseball fan, but I'd be lying if I told you that I knew this guy's name. He's referred to as a universally loathed umpire.
He brings everybody in baseball together because he's so bad.
But how did he remain an umpire for so long? 33-year career.
Because they can't fire him.
Why?
They have a union or whatever, and they couldn't get him out of there.
I mean, I understand people's complaints about unions keeping people who aren't good, but nobody keeps a 33-year career as an MLB umpire if you're no good.
He was terrible.
Really?
That's why I don't know.
How did he get to be an ump in the first place?
I don't know, man. I just know he was terrible, and he makes some of the worst calls you've ever seen.
Wow.
On purpose? Like to make people mad?
No, he just sucks.
Huh. The response from the Major League Baseball community was celebratory for all the wrong reasons. Regarded by many as the worst umpire in the league and perhaps the worst official in all of American sports, was finally gone. There was a time, so people are compiling like a supercut of all of his, if you will, swings and misses. Mm-hmm. The Phillies DH Kyle Schwarber. Hernandez called strike 3 on him, and he flipped out and was immediately ejected. He was the designated hitter, not the designated Hitler. Remember designated Hitler?
Yeah. Designated Hitler. Excuse me. Designated hitter.
Yeah. Angel Hernandez is retiring after 33 years, and people are really happy.
Third, Bryce Harper's up the first pitch outside. Doesn't want it. The next pitch.
I actually don't know if these are bleeped, so I'm not going to. A lot of expletives flying when these guys get in each other's faces. Okay, so these people are happy this guy's gone. He ruled that the Detroit Tigers first baseman Spencer Torkelson swung at a ball that hit him, resulting in a strike instead of a hit by pitch. Subsequent replays revealed it was nowhere near a swing. I'm just curious how somebody can be considered so bad and have a 3-decade-long career. That's the most interesting thing to me.
There's a reason.
CC Sabathia called him absolutely terrible.
He wouldn't quit, and they couldn't fire him.
Wow. I wonder what these guys make. I mean, it must be a pretty good living.
Yeah.
I do need to say this, though. I don't think Angel Hernandez should be umping playoff games. He's absolutely terrible. He's terrible behind the plate today. He's terrible at first base. It's amazing that how he's getting a job to pitch to play in these to umpire.
Remember CC Sabathia?
Mm-hmm.
His full name is Credit Card Sabathia. I don't think a lot of people know that.
I thought it was Chuck E. Cheese Sabathia.
Yep.
What did you say to him?
Common misconception.
It's just a conversation for us, but he shouldn't be anywhere near a playoff game.
Is that sentiment shared?
No, that would be CM Sabathia, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Many of your
Everybody, I think.
Everybody.
I think if you go ask them on the other side, too.
CC, was his strike zone tonight?
It's always.
Yeah.
It's always. He's bad. I don't understand why he's doing these games.
Well,
This
there you
says
go.
umpires can make anywhere between $120,000 and $450,000 a year.
Yeah, and he was in
Low
a union.
end is $120,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of games to just make $120,000. I guess you're not doing all the games either.
No.
I wonder how many games a season you're doing.
You're doing a lot. You're doing
Yeah.
a lot, and he was in the union, and they couldn't fire him.
I love the stories, though. These are two of my favorite. He sued Major League Baseball in 2017 for not assigning him to the World Series since 2005, which, memory serves, was the year that the Chicago White Sox won.
Probably wouldn't have won if it wasn't for him.
Okay, hold on a second.
And then he accused the league of discriminating against him because he's Cuban. Boy, that you got to have. You have to have cojones grande to argue that the Major League Baseball doesn't like Cubans. Oh, God. He was unsuccessful in his legal battles. I wonder what finally got him to the point where he's like, I'm out. Because he's not an old man, right? I mean, he's mid-60s. Yeah. What, Mary?
This says that umpires only work about 75 games a season.
Okay.
So that's not bad at all. You work 75 days a year and you make on the low end $120,000. That's $1,600 a game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I guess
and
you can.
And that's if you're at very, very entry level money.
Yeah.
If you're making $400,000 a year, dude, you're making.
Well, that's probably why they didn't put this guy on playoff games or World Series games for 19 years because they're like, you probably make more money for those. They're like, we don't want to pay this guy a penny more than we have to. And he was mad because he knows you make money in those. Well, anyway.
He's retiring.
Angel Hernandez is out. Yeah.
We're getting closer and closer to robot refs anyway.
Oh, yeah? Refs will be out of it?
I mean, it's just the way things are moving. You have to use so much technology to get the calls right, and you have the technology, and it's working. In NFL, they're getting rid of the chain gang that measures first downs.
The guys that are out there breaking rocks.
Yes, those people. And then in Major League Baseball, they have the technology to call the balls and strikes perfectly accurate, and then they go, well, we don't want to lose the human touch.
Yeah.
But I think people don't care about the human touch. They want the calls right.
Yes.
So
if you had infallible humans, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But barring that, I'm not much for rom-coms, but about 30 years ago, there was one that I particularly enjoyed called Forget Paris. It was Billy Crystal and it was Deborah Winger. And he played an NBA ref. So there were a lot of cameos from the players at that time.
Yeah.
And those were like, there was, obviously when they would have scenes of him at work, he was refereeing basketball games.
Is he like 5'8"?
He's very small.
You don't have to be tall to be a ref.
But he's probably going to look pretty silly out there.
And
he does. That's one part of the humor.
that was the visual joke. Yeah. He was so small. They were so tall. But I like that movie a lot. But that's what I think of it, like, obviously that was a dramatized version of that or for comedic purposes or whatever, but.
He was bad?
No, he was good, but they kind of made reference to the fact that he made pretty good money in that movie.
That's a lot of running.
That's
You
your
know what I mean?
takeaway.
That
In
is.
Basketball, yeah.
That's a
'Cause
lot
I
of
think
running.
about, I
Yeah,
think
you
about
stay in good shape.
the amount of money and what it would take to make that amount of money, That's a lot of running, man.
Well, right. But, yeah.
I'm not going to run that much.
NBA refs earn between $180 and $550 annually.
Oh, $500,000 to run?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I will. I don't
You
know
should
anything about
become,
basketball.
why don't you become an NBA referee?
Because I don't think I know enough. Charge.
Well, then you get
Traveling,
Block, charge, foul.
whatever. You can learn.
Goaltending.
what is goaltending?
When you block the ball away from the net before it gets there.
Double dribble.
Double dribble.
They don't even
That's
call
where they-
traveling anymore, do they?
They
Yeah,
do
every once in a
two-hand
while.
Once in a
bouncing.
while. And it's like, God, that's all we got called when we were kids. I was terrible. Emails to multiple people after CC Sabathia. I remember that. Sorry. Tito Francona was tossed by him one time, and when he went to argue the call, he said, Angel, why is it always you? Well, there you go. I guess I didn't realize, obviously, within the league, all those people would have known the guy, but
No,
I guess his name got
known-
past me.
Yeah.
I wonder who the heir apparent is there in the referee organization, or if there is anything like that.
I don't know. But like of all the years, I mean, baseball, there's been professional baseball for like 120 years.
Yeah.
And you know one umpire's name, and it's not because he was the best.
That's how bad he
Because
is.
he was the worst.
Imagine you are, if they were to work out the statistics, imagine you were statistically the best Major League Baseball umpire, and nobody knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They know who the bad one is.
I think you'd
The
rather
bad
be
one
the,
gets screamed at.
You'd rather be the best one that nobody knows the name of because you're still getting paid.
Yeah.
You're not out there to be a star. You're out there to get it right.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Well, once you're an NBA ref,
I'm gonna be
Tell us.
doing crowd work with the players.
Yes.
Speaking of my White Sox, for many years, they played at U.S. Cellular Field. Anybody who knows anything still calls it Comiskey, but okay. In the age of naming rights, from the early aughts to it's only been guaranteed rate field for a few years. For almost 20 years, it was U.S. Cellular Field. They called it the Cell, the shorthand. I don't know what the nickname is for guaranteed rate field.
Great.
We just still call maybe. We just call it Comiskey, right? Like you guys, some people still call Progressive Field Jacobs Field. It's fine. But I was reading, the only reason I mention this because I was reading that U.S. Cellular is getting scooped up by T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
And I didn't even know that U.S. Cellular was still a cell service. Like when I was in college, it was only Chicago and St. Louis. They were based out of Chicago. They were kind of breaking out a little bit. So Chicago and St. Louis had U.S. Cellular. And apparently they had enough money to buy the naming rights for Comiskey. But I was reading a thing this morning in one of these business emails. They're like, yeah, T-Mobile is scooping up U.S. Cellular. Like, wow, I didn't even know that was still a thing.
Finally.
$4.4 billion for U.S. Cellular.
Crazy.
And they already scooped up, T-Mobile over the years. They grabbed Sprint and yeah. I know, because T-Mobile used to be a joke back in the day. But I got to tell you, hashtag not an ad. I know some people still complain about. I've had it for a long time now, and I've never had issues with it. So I know back in the day, boy, if you had T-Mobile, people would laugh at you. But Maybe it's because they scooped up all these other companies.
Yeah, they got most of the towers.
I guess so. But I didn't even know that U.S. Cellular was still a thing. Like when I go home, there's still commercials for regional carriers. And it's like it's something. I forget what it is. But it's not U.S. Cellular. And I didn't even know it was a thing anymore. But it is.
Well, T-Mobile,
So good news for you people in Illinois and Missouri and wherever else has U.S. Cellular, because
I have T-Mobile now, but I had it in the mid 2000s because I got a Sidekick.
Oh,
and that was that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And so that was T-Mobile, and I'll tell you what, that's when it wasn't great.
That's when people were laughing at you.
That's when it was not too good.
Yeah. Well, I remember 20 years ago when Sprint scooped up a company called Nextel.
Oh,
I remember Nextel.
Remember Nextel? It was the Chirp. That was the Chirp, right? The walkie-talkie. So when I first moved to Michigan, it was all Nextel, and they had the walkie-talkie phones.
We had those because my dad had them for work because that was the easiest way for those guys to communicate. So that was my first cell phone, was one of those Chirp cell phones.
Yeah.
Like the yellow ones.
Yep. Bright yellow.
Yeah.
I remember that. We had in Cleveland area, it was called North Coast Cellular.
There you go. That's what I mean, those regional carriers,
Mine, it only worked in the area codes of 330, 216, and 440. Once you got out of that range,
only
your phone
just
would
didn't
not
work anymore.
There was no service.
Yeah. It wasn't roaming. It was just
no.
done.
It was just you don't get to use this anymore.
No one will pick up. You won't hear a ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why my parents were like, you're not going anywhere. I was 15, I think, when I got my cell phone, and they're like, you're not going anywhere. You just need this. There's no one outside of these area codes. It wouldn't make calls to outside of those area codes.
I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 24.
Well, you were also born in the 50s.
Well, it's 1995, yeah.
What day did you turn 24?
I don't remember. So long ago, Bill. I can't. God, how long ago was that? I don't even know that. Alan Angel Hernandez is far from the worst umpire. You know who I'm talking about. Right. Enrico Palazzo is way worse than Angel Hernandez. I love this guy. Mm-hmm.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars were so gallantly there, as the rockets were there, and the twilight's last gleaming, and the rockets' red glare were so gallantly there. Burst stripes were all there, and the rockets were there.
Poor son of a bitch. Well, it's pretty rare that you'll have a song with the word gallantly in it. Just doesn't show up much anymore. Alan C.B. Buckner is the heir apparent. He is the best umpire. All right, well, of course, that guy named after the trucker radio. Congratulations. We got a great big convoy.
It's actually Charles Barkley.
Charles
Barkley Buckner.
His calls were terrible. I'm better than that guy. All right, you want to get the last word in? Text me 35192. Guardians baseball later on tonight, 8:40. They're playing the Rockies in Denver.
It's the Alan Cox Show. Everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app.